All right. The talk of Dr. Coon's talk is Nutritional Strategies to Maintain Optimum Poultry, Meat, and Egg Output during the next 25 years. Dr. Coons.
Thank you very much. I think I was a little bit too optimistic I could get through this many slides, so I'm going to have to probably go through some of these a little faster. Make sure I do it right. Is the little green one? Okay. Here we go, broilers. Okay, we'll start with the broilers, and that's mainly the poultry meat that I'll talk about today. I hear a lot of people talking about feed efficiency, and I really appreciate that, because that's going to be my main contribution to sustainability. Because this is one thing we do very, very well. We produce a bird very quick. And because of that, it's efficient. And so I'll share some of that with you. In this country, we're a little different than everybody else in regards to the type of bird we produce and the size. This represents 18 years worth of history in regards to the way our market works here in the U.S., all the way back to 2000 compared to today. The main thing you should pick up from this is the big bird, way over here on the right-hand side. If you take a 6-pound bird and move to 7.5 pound, now then they even have a new category they list, 8.5 pounds. We're actually 30% past 8.5 pounds today. So if you take all of those past 6 pounds, you're looking at 71% of our market is going to the big bird that we have. And so that's a substantial portion of our bird. And I didn't even touch anything. It just took off. Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. I think you got me there. I don't know what happened there on the other thing. Okay. But that's the main thing I want you to see is the big bird market, and it's going to get bigger. It's a key thing that all the primary breeders are telling us. Got this from Dr. Efficie Owens. Dr. Efficie Owens travels all over the world. I'm going to show you this also. This is our main problem in dealing with our poultry meat right now. We're doing a fantastic job of producing birds very efficiently, but the wheels are going to come off. They already have. And so we're trying to figure out a way to solve that problem and to get it back on track. All right. The big bird market is we was talking about. And what the consumer really wants is this boneless breast meat. That's our retail value in this big bird. And that's why we're moving in that direction. And obviously, the bigger the bird, the higher the percent of that meat is going to be breast meat. And so that's why it makes it very valuable to our integrators to go in that direction. And so that's really the driving force. This is something that we follow probably too closely. It's AgriStat. It's a statistical service that all of our integrators participate using. They provide all this information, and then they pass it back out to the industry. And it kind of tells us how we're doing, and it tells each integrator how they're also doing regarding in terms of cost and the efficiency and different categories that they're listed. But the main thing you can see here is all the different weights of birds and the percentages of the birds. The big bird is by far the main one. Now this is an interesting thing I want to show you. This is one of our main primary breeders. We got two big ones, Cobb and Efficie, and those are the big primary breeders, and really for the whole world. And this is Cobb. They're right there by us in Siloam Springs. I happen to have the nutritionist is my past graduate student, Justina Caldas. Very proud of her. But anyhow, this is what Cobb is projecting for the next few years. If you look at those three circles, they really kind of represent the markets that they see. They always believe we're going to have some birds that are going to be the small bird market. That'd be the birds smaller than 5 pounds. Then we're going to always have this center bird. That's going to be that 5 to 7.5 pound bird. And then the one you see on the right is going to be the big bird. That's 7.5 pounds and larger. And so this is what's going to happen in the next number of years, as I've just told you this about this. What they're projecting, and they're going to have to change the genetics to make this happen. But they're going to have to change the genetics on the little bird because they want more leg quarter instead of breast meat. So they're going to have to change the genetics there. They're going to have to change the genetics on the big bird in order to sustain this size and this much breast meat. And so that's also going to have to change. But they're already working on that end as well. Now you still will probably have about equal breast meat, leg quarter on that center bird. But as you can see, we're really projecting into the big bird. Now the reason is China is now getting involved. Obviously the US already is, but China, Thailand, they already see the value in the big bird. There's a lot of economic reasoning behind this. You put a lot of meat on a shackle, and that's how you make money. And so China sees the same story. They're doing the same thing. Produce a lot of meat. And so that's one of the advantages. This is what I was telling you about earlier in terms of AgriStats. Mike Donahue is running this. It's his company. I'll share some of the information over time where you can kind of see what's going on. This is kind of our story about efficiency. If you look all the way back over on the left side, down to the right side here, 2018, this is per pound of bird. So it's 2,500 calories, metabolizable energy calories per pound. And you can see what it used to be back in time. It was much more than that. Then the other line is very important, and I'm going to show you why that's important. The speed of gain. If you look at the blue line, that represents the number of days to reach this 5 pound bird. And that's a very, very important point. The faster you get there, the more efficient you're going to be. And that's how it really works for this bird, because you have less maintenance days. And we've had some great talks already this morning, and I appreciate you bringing up maintenance. Here it comes again. That's how we do what we do today and with this bird. We take away maintenance because we do it so fast. We get them there. We don't have to have a long period of time of maintenance. And so that's a very nice contribution from genetics that's allowing us to do that. This is another one. This is the actual yield, eviscerated yield of these birds, even the big birds that we're talking about. You can see what it used to be like back in 1997. That's about 20 some odd years back. That's when I arrived in Arkansas, 1997, in fact. They just really started to change the breast meat on these birds when I arrived. But this happens to be the eviscerated yield, and we went from like around 68% to we're almost at 80% here at this point. This is boneless breast meat percent. Again, about 15%. Now we're approaching 26% of breast meat on these birds. That's where the money's at, and that's why we're going that way. Hatchability really is one of our things that we haven't changed. If you were trying to solve any problem that we have that has been so persistent, this would be it. We haven't changed hatchability in many, many years. We're still right around 85%. This is one that's getting interesting again. We did a really nice job on livability. It was improving, as you can see, look at the blue line. Very, very good on livability, mortality. But now we're going through the no antibiotics ever component. So you can see it's raising its ugly head again. And so we're losing some of our birds. Our 7-day mortality is one of the issues that's facing us today. We have no protection coming out of the hatchery. And so that's where we lose our birds. And so that's becoming a very important component that we have to be careful in dealing with. If we look at all of the things that I've just shared with you and take some of this statistics and move it out 15 years, you can kind of see where we're going in regards to improving. We're going about 42 calories a year per kilo. That's how much we're improving it. So you can kind of project out where we'll be in terms of calories per kilo in the future. The broiler industry is improving the livability, again, as I shared with you earlier, about 5% per year. And the boneless breast meat is obviously increasing, and it's about 0.5% per year that we're still seeing. And this is what I was telling you earlier in terms of how this is all happening. It's mainly because of that top line. The geneticists have got this set up to where we reduce the amount of time it takes to achieve that 5-pound bird approximately a half a year each year. In other words, in 2 years, we change 1 day. So if it took us 35 days, in 2 years, we'll be at 34 days. 2 years, we'll be at 33 days. That's how fast it's changing. And as I've already told you again, the middle one there, the sooner the broiler gets to the desired market size, the higher the percentage of that feed will go into that lean mass that we want. We want them to produce protein. And so the faster we get there, the smaller our maintenance, and there is your feed conversion that you continually see improving. I want to share this with you because it gives you a real idea. Someone mentioned again, usually nutritionists are always talking about lysine. Well, this is kind of going to be part of that message. But I picked this up from Dr. Kerr in France. Does a really nice job of modeling where we are at the present time. Also, some of the problems that we're facing, and I'll share those with you as well. In trying to maintain this rate of gain that we're talking about. He did a lot of modeling, looking at all the different components. There's 42 different sets of data that he went through here. And what we're really trying to do is achieve modeling the feed intake that it's going to take to achieve some of these gains that we're looking at. And so in looking through this and predicting the actual feed intake from these models is very, very accurate. So what they've been able to do now is to set up growth curves associated with changing time of getting to market. And what will that require in terms of a change in feed intake to do so? So that's why calculating the daily feed intake is important in order to see those types of gain changes. The problem we're going to face is the physiology of the bird itself. What's happening is that the feed intake is really increasing, no question about it, in relationship to the body weight. But it's reaching a point to where it looks like we're going to have some real issues. And so this is what I'm trying to get across here on the right-hand side about organ weights in relationship to body weight. And so we've got this going in opposite directions. And so something's got to give. And so that's going to be one of our main challenges that's in the front of us. Will we be able to maintain this kind of gain that we're now into? And this is a very important point in terms of feed and protein efficiency, because I've heard that term mentioned today also. If you look here, we're not expecting anything to change on protein efficiency. Pretty much locked in at about 60%. And so that's not going to change. Now, we're going to still see improvements in FCR, and actually in this particular case, this 5-pound bird, or 2.5 kilo, when we're getting down to about 20 days to get to market, if everything stays the same and the wheels don't fall off, that's where we're going to achieve 1-to-1. That's the goal at this point. But the reason this protein efficiency point is important, that allows us now to set up our lysine values, to kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like as we continue to see the improvements in the speed at which these birds get to market. And as you can see, as we start moving this time frame down and get it to market at earlier and earlier times, your digestible lysine levels, even all the way out here in the finisher feed, is very substantial. And so it's a bird that's very sensitive to amino acids. And in fact, I would say to you, it is the most sensitive thing that this bird feeds on, is amino acids. And I'm going to show you a little later, this is one of the things that we're trying to change and actually establish a different kind of energy system that really is set up to comprehend protein gain. Our current system is not. And so we're changing the whole system, and we're going to call it the Arkansas Net Energy System, because we want protein gain. So does our integrator. They want protein gain. And so I want to share some of that with you. Now, these are some of the projections in terms of each time we change 1 day in getting to market faster. These are some of the lysine levels we're going to have in the finisher feed, grower feed. Our feed conversions are going to continually get better, as you can see, 2.7% for every day that we change as we move closer and closer to that 20-day market in this particular case. All right, I want to share some things in regards to what has happened in the anatomy of this bird to allow this to happen. Even though there's some organ problems that we see in terms of being able to deal with this much food, this much gain in relationship to the heart and all the other components, there's still some positive aspects that allow this bird to do it, and I'll share those with you. This is jejunum. Obviously, we've got to get it in, we got to get it digested, we got to get it absorbed. And one of the things that's happening in this fast-growing bird compared to some of our old genetics, this is old genetics right here. If you look at old genetics and look at the jejunum length on these fast-growing, high-yield birds that I'm sharing with you, you can see that this bird has a longer jejunum. So we have a longer tract here, and especially the jejunum area, where you're really expecting to see a lot of absorption. And if you look over here, you're getting a lot of weight in relationship to that length, even with these big birds. So they're very efficient with that intestinal tract. It's just showing they're significant. This is the other thing, the villi length. The villi length is longer on this modern high-yield bird compared to the old genetics. It's a shorter villi. So that's helping the efficiency of this bird to consume that much feed each day and to have that type of gain. This is another part that's important. We're putting a lot of weight on these birds. They have to withstand that weight. We're keeping them on feed longer to put more meat on that bird. So we need a bone, a good bone to hold it up. And that's really what you see here. Our breaking strength is really improved in these high-yield birds compared to old genetics, even though the actual diameter of the bone is smaller than what we used to have. But the breaking strength itself is better. All right, this is the part that we're really having problems with. This is myopathy, and it is everywhere. And anytime you get into these big birds, you're going to have myopathy. And you're going to have a hard time finding birds if you go out into the field that don't have some myopathy. It's there. And part of it is because these birds are big and they're growing really, really fast. And so it's an issue now. You've got the consumer on one side, and I'll share some of those with you. You've got the integrator on one side. Oh, it's a niche market. Let's go. Let's go. Integrator. Let's go. Let's go. And so you've got mixed things occurring. And so we're kind of at that point where the wheels are trying to fall off, but we really hadn't quite got it all figured out yet. This is what it looks like, the breast myopathy. Like it says over here, just about all the birds have got some part of it. It depends on how many of the fibers have this degeneration. So it's very, very common when you get into these big birds. Now we have two that are the ones we talk about: white striping and the woody breast. Now, I think I've got examples of both. Key problem is economics. Obviously, we're losing a lot of good meat, trim, fillets, carcass. We're losing yield in this process. We're getting downgrades. So it's becoming a very, very costly situation at the present time in trying to maintain this type of production in these high yield birds. Is the industry concerned? Yes. Quality defects is very high. You got like I mentioned, the downgrades. You got complaints from our customers. The consumers are very aware, and there's economic losses. This is what's going on in the media. Poultry's tough new problem. If you've ever tasted woody breast, that has a couple of different meanings. Woody breast, white striping, these are our problems that we're facing. All of these are caused by the Frankenstein breeding practices used by the industry. So the media is having a field day with it. This is white striping. As you can see, all the striations. Basically, you're increasing the fiber component of that muscle. You're increasing the fat content of that muscle. You're decreasing the protein content of that muscle. So these are the things that are occurring in that white striping. We published a paper, I think it was last year. One of the key things that happens is protein turnover changes. And so you really pick up your proteolytic degradation of that muscle. Protein turnover went up twofold by protein degradation. So it changes things. Severe white striping, you're looking at 8.5 pound, 35 to 40% will be affected. That's a lot. 7 pound bird, 10 to 20%. These are some of the things that you see with white striping: increased fat, decreased protein, as I just mentioned to you. This is some of our work: increased protein breakdown, proteolytic genes are increased. This is woody breast. This is one that probably is more common also. A lot of people really complained about this because it's very, very different when you try to eat a breast fillet that is woody, a woody breast type bird. 20 to 35% of the big birds, 5 to 10% of 7 pound birds. So it's a very high component of our industry right now, dealing with woody breast. How do we stop it? Slow them down. There's been some nice research showing this. So if you reduce your lysine levels, slow them down, you can reduce this problem. Now, in this particular case, they claim they didn't have a change in FCR, but everybody does. It's that's very uncommon. Most people that try this to try to decrease amino acids, they do have a change in their FCR. So you don't get the FCR back. You can reduce, though, the number of these birds that are going to be affected by moth. And right now, that's our best solution. Just slow them down. Amino acids is the best way to slow them down, because that's the nutrient that they're most sensitive to, is amino acids. This is one I was going to share with you. This is what we're working on, developing a different energy system than the one that we presently have in terms of net energy. You may recognize this name. I was looking, person that talked from Oklahoma State earlier this morning. It's now in Nebraska. You were on our committee, Dr. Hilton, that did this work. This is her work. It's talking about getting into an energy form that we can use, net energy. I'll just share this with you. We know if we can get it into net energy instead of having it in ME, that we'll have a lot more to do with the composition, and so that's the reason we're trying to get that way. This is the classic NE. We do that. And this is Arkansas NE. We measure the net energy for gain, and we measure the net energy for maintenance. And that's different. When most people do net energy, they do metabolizable energy and they subtract heat increment. That's the way they do net energy. But by doing it that way, they really are not looking at the net energy maintenance. And it's a lot. There's a lot of net energy for maintenance. It's because they're protein. They're all protein. Huge amount of protein. It generates a lot of heat production. And I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. I think my time is up. This is one of the key things I want to share with you, and that's regarding how efficient this is when you account for real calories that are going through these birds and using the Arkansas system compared to the classic NE system. Obviously, you're losing a lot of calories when you use the classic system. But when you really take into account the heat that this bird is generating, because it's all protein, look at the calories that you have. It's really amazing, above 100% more than ME when you account for all of it. This is dealing with temperature. We have these birds in different temperatures. You can see when you're in a cool temperature, that's when the Arkansas net energy system really shines. You're up to 117% of metabolizable energy when you look at that. And it's mainly because of this right here. It's all about protein gain because that's what they're sensitive to, as you can see here. We're up to 120% on the amino acid side. It's all protein gain. And so that's the reason that you're seeing that heat production. What I want to do is I'm going to skip to the last slide. This is layers. The layer story is fantastic as well. They're annualizing probably 150 grams of egg mass a year. And that's efficiency in itself. They're eating less feed and gaining that many egg and that much egg mass each year. They start earlier, and the persistency of lay is incredible. The egg industry is done an unbelievable good job in terms of putting out a good product very, very efficiently. They've even stopped molting because they don't need to molt anymore. They can lay them all the way to 90 weeks and then all in, all out at that point. So that's a fantastic story. And I'll just go to the last slide. You'll run out of time. Fastest way to select for feed efficiency is through the rate of gain. That's what I was trying to tell you. We're going to see 28 days, 15 years as far as marketing that size bird. It's going to be a while before we get to 1-to-1, but if everything gets on track, somewhere around the middle of this century. NE's more efficient use of calories than ME and should reflect protein gain. That's what we're all here to produce, is protein, not fat. That's what we'll continue to produce. Future conflicts are going to be in front of us. Digestive function for the meat yield. We do have present problems right now, white striping, woody breast. Egg industries on target for reducing feed intake, increasing egg mass, and they're moving to a single cycle production, no need to molt. And we also have a cage-free egg production, as you know. We're having to learn a lot here with this cage-free production of eggs. They require more calories, about 16% more calories than are cage birds. I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Coon. We maybe have time for one question.
You were the person I was looking for a while ago. That's Katie.
Tell Katie I said hello. Absolutely.
Well, she saw you on the program. Said, make sure to say hi.
Yeah. Fabulous talk, and what a success story the poultry industry has had. I'm wondering why you perceive the decrease in visceral mass as a challenge. I would see that as an advantage because you're decreasing maintenance energy costs with decreasing visceral mass, especially if you're increasing jejunal length and
Right.
crypt depth, etc.
Well, that's true so far. But projecting ahead, will it be enough? In other words, will there be enough room for that efficiency that we're seeing now? Even though we've got a little longer length of the key components. Now, we didn't see it with the duodenum. We've seen it with ileum, and we saw it with the jejunum. And so both of those have increased. But we're a long ways from where we're projecting that this is going to go. And so what I'm saying to you, is it going to be enough? And that's why the industry is concerned that we may need more if we're going to have to sustain that kind of feed intake to get these kind of gains. Physiologically, it may not be possible, is one of the things that's there. Okay, good point.
One real fast.
Okay.
So in the dairy industry, as we've selected for cows, it looks like we've selected for cows with higher maintenance requirements.
Yes.
I wonder, now that you have an NEM, NEG system, what are you above the 70 times metabolic body weight, 70 kcals per unit of metabolic body weight, or not?
You talk about in terms of maintenance itself?
Maintenance requirement itself, yeah.
Yes, we're above that.
How far do you know?
Well, I'm trying to.
For dairy cows, it looks like we're probably around 100.
Yes.
So.
I'm trying to remember just the number right offhand. I can't remember just what that number is beyond that point for maintenance. We just had a young lady that published a paper on maintenance, even with temperature, but I can't remember the number. You got it?
Okay, let's show our appreciation.